Greetings of peace and love. I'm Reverend Cardona. I'm here with Reverend Lisa Benton, my beloved Goddi Lisa. Together we present Miracles with a Twist conversations. What we do is we follow up on a presentation of Miracles with a Twist. And that's why we call it conversations, because we go back, dig deep, and unpack it. And so we like to do that with Goddi Lisa's perspective on what she got out of the podcast, the presentation. It's actually a video podcast. Please check it out. So we like to begin in prayer. So let's do that together. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale into your heart. And we take this opportunity to be joined heart to heart, soul to soul. And we think in terms of expanding our consciousness. And when we do so, we connect with our higher holy self. And we ask that we be willing and deeply rooted in our commitment to rising higher, praying harder, loving steadily, forgiving readily, so that we can be connected through our hearts of compassion and kindness with brothers and sisters, kindred spirits, and even strangers. Just everyone who comes into our life, we know is an opportunity for us to be a blessing and to receive a blessing. And so today we move forward with that knowing, with that understanding, and in gratitude. So we take another nice deep breath in and exhale into this moment. Hello, Goddi Lisa.
Hello, RevLo.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, as always.
Thank you.
Thursday, again, as always, knocked me for a loop because it's interesting because you and I talk a lot as friends and as colleagues and stuff, but quite more frequently now, it seems like you're reading my mind and then you're giving me the information that I want or I need or something, which brings me to where we were on Thursday, and that was lesson 154, and it is, I am among the ministers of God. And you had mentioned that a lot of people come up to you as a member of clergy and say to you, do you think I would make a good minister? And you and I both know, if we are here, we are ministers. Now, how we show up as that minister, all different. We have to listen and we have to watch the signs. And you spoke of this song from the 60s about signs, and that's a kind of you could think that they're talking about looking at signs like on billboards or whatever, but it's metaphorical. They are signs, but they're signs to me from God that are in front of us all the time to move us forward, to make us stand still, make us step back. All these signs are out there. And so I got to thinking about that song, Signs. First of all, I love it. I've always loved the song Signs. And I fell in love with it because David Cassidy sang it on the Partridge Family.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah. And it wasn't the Partridge Family that made it popular, but it was neat to watch them sing it. But anyway, it's about signs, and it says, do this, don't do that. Can't you read the signs, And so I got to start thinking about all the signs, and you and I have spoken about divine and sacred synchronicity, and our buddy Libby, with the sacred synchronicity, it's just so important, and that's what these signs are. And they're in all kinds of forms. They are actually in like a stop sign. That's a good physical, literal sign. That means stop your car right here. You could hurt yourself or somebody else. But there's signs that we get from God, the universe, source, other people, whatever, that are signs that are giving us gentle reminders or suggestions or even stop signs as to how to move on in being that minister that we are all created to be. And as divine creations, we can't not be a minister. So even if we're missing the mark and we're not putting out such a pretty thing, we are ministering, and we may not be getting the result that we want. And that made me think about you had in your bumpy road to enlightenment, you read the story about this ogre, creepy, horrible guy who went around whacking off everybody's heads and killing people to try to find peace. And which sounds very odd, but at the same time can probably sound very familiar to many people today, that there's ogres or angry people running around doing horrible things to find peace. Well, this ogre finds a nun sitting under a Buddhist nun sitting under a Bodhi tree, just minding her own business. And he says, I'm going to cut your head off. And she's like, what are you going to do that for? Well, if you can't find me peace, I'm going to cut your head off. And she's like, well, that's not very nice or whatever of you to do that. But in the end, what it was he did not find peace in cutting off heads. He was looking for peace in his heart, and he found it in this nun who simply was who she was. And she showed up as this sign of peace. And he found peace through the way she showed up, not through whacking her head off and then going on to the next person to see if that would bring him peace. And I have found in my own life these days, more and more, speaking with people who are angry, really angry over all kinds of things, politics, the medical field, our environment, rights, human rights taken away that we fought so hard to get, and now they're being taken away. People are very angry. And what comes to me is what I've learned and believe and live to the very best of my ability in A Course in Miracles, is that we are either expressing love or we are expressing a need for love. And if you really think about it, that you cannot not agree with that. Because if you're expressing love, then that's nice. If you're not expressing love, or you're expressing a need for love, it's a uncomfortableness. It can be a sadness, violence, all kinds of ways. But if somebody is not loving, not feeling peace, and is chopping off heads, thinking that the peace is going to come. So I have been trying to, when people speak to me, and as a member of clergy, even in my family, people tell me things that they wouldn't normally, I think, say to me if I wasn't, an ordained minister. But they assume that I'm going to give them the truth, and it's the truth. I do, my truth. And so when I see these angry people expressing their anger to me, I can't get on board with that. I can't get on board with anger. I can absolutely get on board with, I am sorry that you feel this way. I understand why you feel this way. Perhaps if we could take it just one step further and see that this person, do you really think that this person who has just, let's say it's some dictatorship where the leader of the country has just cut off all food that is being sent to the country that is undergoing a drought or something, to find that this person, while the behavior is reprehensible, just like with the ogre and the chopping off the heads. It's unacceptable. It can't be tolerated. But if we get into that fracas and start saying he should have his head cut off, he should be starving, then all we're doing is adding to that mindset, and it's not helping the situation. So I try to encourage people, without sounding like a frou-frou, whatever, la-la kind of airhead, that this person is broken. This person is broken. What this person is doing is unacceptable and needs to be accountable in whatever way. You can't let an ogre keep going and chopping off heads. You can't let other people starve. You must do whatever you are called to do. But you can't do it with an angry mind. You can't be the minister that you were created to be if you have an angry, bitter heart. You have to clear that heart out. Say, I know this is intolerable. I need to find how I can bring peace to this situation. How I always say every week, how do I see this differently? But to explain or to try to talk to someone who is completely unfamiliar with A Course in Miracles, but is totally connected with life as they see it, to say what I'm saying, which is this person is aching for love. People that I'm talking to don't care, and they say that right to my face. I don't give a whatever about what that person has been through or gone through or whatever has happened. That doesn't affect me. That doesn't, and I'm like, it does affect you. It affects you. It affects your heart. Right now, you're getting angrier and angrier speaking with me, and I'm trying to keep us both calm, because I know I'm no exception to the rule. I get angry and I say things that I wish I hadn't. I don't clear out my heart when I see something reprehensible just like that. I need to work on it. And again, that's why I love our lessons so much. So I really loved all of the talk that you did on I Am a Minister, and the ogre story, and how we show up is just so important. And this is something that I struggle with every day. And because there is so much anger, I find it very hard to have conversations that do not end up turning into something political, environmental, gender related, you name it, and all these things that have risen to the surface in our lives these days. And I see pain. I see pain, and I don't want to see pain. I want to see peace. And so I need to be that peaceful person. And that's what I would like to share, and I try to share with people. And I'm not being very successful. I'm not going to stop, but that's my calling. And I want to thank Sacred Journey Interfaith Seminary, because for years and years and years, I thought, I thought differently than a lot of people. And it wasn't until I went to seminary that I realized, hey, that's your gift. You see these things that other people don't see, and you need to share them. So I do share, and I know when I have to stop, because when things do start to, when someone says, well, I don't care. I don't care what that person went through or whatever. That person hurt my family or hurt me or whatever. And I have to explain that I'm not hurt too. I am, but I can't add to it. I've got to find a way to bring peace, to be that little nun under the Bodhi tree who knew the guy was a mess and kind of told him he was, but was peace. And he saw the peace, and it gave him peace. Now it's a story, and it doesn't always happen like that, but that is the truth. And I think that Thursday's class, which was very brief, but very succinct, I just loved it. And I want to thank you for that, because this is something that I am working on, I would say practically on a daily basis. If I come in contact with another human being, this somehow comes up. So
Yeah, I think we all have to face whatever comes up on a daily basis, you know, and it's not often all the beautiful, heartfelt interactions that we would love in a perfect world. In the story, she tells him to put down his sword. And the question is, how do we put down the sword? What is the sword made up of? The sword that he was going to use is metaphorical for all our defenses, our anger, our judgment, our self-condemnation, our condemnation of others. And what will it take to bring down that sword is inner reflection, a commitment to our own inner growth, our own spiritual growth, our own emotional healing. So when we are in contact with people who don't care and who don't want to care, it's just a matter of letting it be in that moment. You know,
Yeah.
Everyone is accountable only to their own self. And so the way the Course describes it as being a minister is that it's using minister as a messenger. How am I a messenger? Not just by my words, but by my way of being, how I live my life, which is also how the Gloria Karpinski book, which I quoted also on Thursday, Barefoot on Holy Ground, she talks about this is an era of new discipleship. And it's not about dogma, it's not about religion, it's about us taking responsibility for our own selves. How are we disciples of our higher holy self? If I've got a guru, it's within me. It's within me. It's the that which I am going to listen to, that which I have made a commitment to, which is different than getting ordained as a minister, because as you know, that's a course of study where we learn certain ways of performing rituals and ceremonies for people in the name of a ministry. Which, by the way, Sacred Journey Interfaith Seminary has some new graduates coming up for ordination on June 25th. We're very excited about that. And we continue to offer a 2-year, he'll be there. We continue to offer a 2-year course of study for people who want to just take that commitment to ministry to such a higher level that they're willing to live it through their vows of ministry. But all of us can be messengers, but we have to be gentle messengers, you know, like the nun under the Bodhi tree. She said, you know, put the sword down. He could have chosen not to.
Yep.
He could have said, nope, I need to eliminate you. But she correlated putting the sword down with being at peace. And so it's hard for us to recognize sometimes, because we love our swords and we love everything that we've written on that sword, you know, how you're supposed to do better and be better the way I want you to do better and be better, as opposed to looking within and how can I do better and be better? And part of how I can do better and be better is not to hold the sword up, not to hold the sword over your head, not to hold you in contempt of my court, you know? And so that's the biggest lesson, I think, for all of us, is to really do the deep inner reflection of what it is that we need to do so we can rise higher. You know, we rise higher, pray harder, love steadily, and forgive readily. We are accountable to ourselves, and that's how we ministry, and we are messengers just by way of our being. You know, it's like my dean said, you may be the only Bible anyone ever reads just by how you show up, how you live your life, and how you interact with the world. And sometimes that means retracting, retracting from an argument, retracting from other people's anger, and just be like, you know what, I have to respect that this person is not listening, because in the moment, maybe I'm not listening, maybe they're not listening, because emotions flood us. They flood our brains with chemicals, and it almost like it acts like ear stoppers,
Yeah.
And when we stop listening, we stop feeling from our heart. We're no longer in our heart space. So I'm glad you liked that presentation, and we'll continue to just remind people what they have within. Everybody has the capability. We all do. We all have the capability to put our swords down, to rise higher, to listen to our higher holy self, to be a minister and a messenger in the moment. It could be, while you're walking through Publix and somebody smashes into you with their cart, and you just go, hey, it's okay, no problem. And
Yep.
and just that moment might help them to feel like, oh, there's good people in the world.
Yeah.
We don't have to preach and teach, we just have to be.
That's right. And that's perfect. Because I always think about how am I showing up? How am I presenting myself?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like you said, it's all about me cleaning out my space so that I have space to minister in my way to everyone that I meet. And it's not easy and it's not fun sometimes, but it is so powerfully worthwhile to just step back, like you said, step back sometimes and maybe see something differently than you were actually asking to see differently. Mm-hmm. So I thank you so much for that class. I think that more people than we know on many different levels are experiencing this. I've heard a lot of people say, I won't even watch TV anymore. I don't want to talk about anything that ruffles my feathers. And I get it and I respect it. I really do. And at the same time, we need to take care of each other. So I found this, it's a neat little prayer by Kelly Bellari. It was like a blog that she did on her page, and I had never seen her before, and I found this, and it was entitled Pay Attention to the Road Signs. And she had just different experiences that she was going through, and then had like almost prose or poetry or whatever. And I just picked this out because I just thought this was pretty appropriate for what we were talking about, because we can see things one way or we can see things another way. And there's a lot of signs out there. I had sacrificed the hallow for the hollow. I had ignored the warning signs and worn myself out. I had neglected my post at home in order to type out another post here. I had left the secure to grasp at the wind, and I had traded the best in pursuit of the good. Amen.
Amen. That's profound. If you have that digital, you can put it in the comments section once we.
Oh, okay.
That's really beautiful. I guess we do that all the time with our prayers. So thank you so much. That's a beautiful thought to leave on. And you are among the ministers of God. You are a messenger. And I appreciate this opportunity to be reminded that we are all here to do our very best. Put our swords down. That's what we'll do today.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye. God bless you. Good to see you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.